monkey. Aunque la mona se vista de seda, mona se queda. Aunque la mona se vista de seda, mona se queda. Mona se queda. Aunque la mona se vista de seda, mona se queda. Mona se queda. Aunque la mona se vista de seda, mona se queda. Stop playing with a monkey. It's gonna get a little funky. Stop playing with a monkey. It's gonna get a little funky.
The chick singing along, gonna get a little funky. It's great, isn't it?
Man,
No,
that's a
that's
great,
a good one.
yeah, that's a great solo. And
Thank you.
welcome Eric to my show.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Pleasure to be here. Are we on?
We are
Oh,
live.
that's great. Great.
And you know, should we explain to people the other part that happens during that solo?
Sure. Well, it might be a little hard to do right off the top here, but you
Oh,
know, it's possible. If you really want me to explain it, it'd be great to have a picture of it. I do have it somewhere, but I don't know where it is.
oh, that would be great to have a picture. Well, since we're speaking of pictures, let me pull this up because I've had John and Tom on, John
Yeah.
Worley and Tom Politzer, and you are the fourth person in this picture of Jazz at the Boojum Tree.
That's
So
right.
there's me, there's Tom, there's John, and there's you, Eric the Red. And I pulled the picture up. I'm showing it right now. So
Okay.
you are the fourth person in that picture that I've now been able to show on my show.
Great.
I mean,
Amazing. I probably look a little different in that picture, don't you think?
a little bit, a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
that's
That was
called,
a lot less pounds.
right? Well, you did.
Yeah,
You had didn't you have a Camaro?
I did.
And
Yes.
it was blue,
Yes, light blue at that time.
right?
Yes.
And this is what that during those days when we were in Los Angeles, you drove me all over Los Angeles and you took me to all the clubs. And we went to Dante's and saw Bunny Brunel and Tom Breckline. We went to I believe it was the Baked Potato. Do you remember when we went? And I think the band was Charisma. And
could have been.
I believe Abe Laboriel was playing bass. And I know it was you that took me because you were the only guy that took me to all these places. You would say, yeah, you got to go check out this place. Yeah, we got to go here.
Yeah.
And I believe that the night we went to see them, Charisma, I think the drummer was this new guy in town at the time, Vinny Caliuta.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Okay, so there's one more I'm remembering that you took me to, and I can't remember the name of the club, but it was Hal Blaine was playing drums.
Oh,
And a
really?
little jazz trio thing, and we were sitting right there was like nobody in there. We were sitting right in front, and no, there was another one too, but on this particular one, Hal says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite up a good friend of mine. She's sitting out at the bar, and I'd like to have her come up and sing a couple of songs. Sarah, will you come up and sing a couple of songs?" And I went nuts. I'm sitting like she's standing right in front of me with my feet on the stage, and you took me to that too. And it
Okay. That one I don't remember so well, but if you say so, that's great.
you know, and we saw all the hits, and you
Oh,
made sure I saw all. And I believe you also drove me down to the Lighthouse, and we saw Freddie Hubbard.
that I remember.
Okay.
Hmm.
And that one, if I'm not mistaken, the drummer was having a particularly rough
Yeah.
time.
Yes, that's true.
Oh my God.
And he was getting all over him, wasn't he?
Oh my God. I could feel it because I had that same experience on the Circus.
Oh, well, see? Then you knew it wasn't just you after all. How about that?
Oh,
Yeah.
Man. So
Yeah,
anyway, you sort of took me all around Los Angeles. You showed me all the clubs. Oh yeah, you got to see this place. And you would get out the Thomas Brothers map and you
right.
would say, okay, here it is. And you just drive me there and we go and we drive all over.
Good times, really
Yeah,
good time.
they were, it
Absolutely.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. And a lot of those great names were playing in clubs. I mean, there were more clubs and there was more live jazz going on at that time. So at a good time when those people were playing, Freddie was still sounding great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how many clubs do you think there was? Easily 6 or 7 clubs that had groups on a regular basis, I think, in those early 80s that you took me to.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. Yeah, Dante's was still there. Baked Potato is the one that's lasted the longest. They're still there today.
Yeah,
But Lighthouse is still there. They don't have a lot of jazz once in a while, maybe on a weekend, Sunday afternoon. They make different styles now, but it's still in the same location. There was Concerts by the Sea, which was Redondo Beach, just down the road from the Lighthouse. There was
right.
a lot of good music there too. I don't know if you and I went there, but I went there a few times.
I
And there
don't
were probably 2 or 3 other ones besides those two.
there was I'm trying to remember the name of the club that was just a bar where you took me to see the Hal Blaine thing.
Yeah,
And
that one I don't remember as well, but
it was
probably in the Valley or Hollywood or somewhere around there, most
yeah,
likely.
and wasn't there also a place on Ventura Boulevard for a while that closed down in like 2008 or 9? It was like a pizza joint looked like.
Oh, Moonlight Tango.
Oh no, Moonlight Tangle was another one, but
Yeah.
that was on Lankershim, right?
No, that was on Ventura.
Oh, it was? Oh man.
Yeah.
See, I don't
Uh,
know.
Cafe Cordial is one that's more recent that's on Ventura as well. They're kind of in that Sherman Oaks neighborhood.
Yeah, there was
Bernie Drexel played there a lot.
yeah, he did. I think
Yeah.
did we go together there one time?
I don't know. That was later on. It's possible. You moved in and out of town, and we might have gone there. It's
Oh
possible.
man. Oh, okay. This is something that I think it was when you were playing with Cecilia Noel
Yeah.
and you called me up one time and said, "Okay, Jeff, you've got to come down because Dave Weckel's playing drums."
Yes. I'm
And
pretty,
I drove.
that was yeah. That was the West End in Santa Monica at the time. Yeah, I think they're still called the West End. Yeah, it's had different names. Yeah, he played a whole summer with us.
Right.
Yeah, and I can tell you that story because he came
Yeah.
to see us at the Baked Potato, and that would have been like April or May of that year. I'm not sure what year that was, but no, it was a lot of fun. And he said he told Cecilia after the show, he says, "I want to play in your band," and she told us that later. And he goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, Dave Weckel says he wants to play in our band." I go, "Well, like we're gonna say no to that." And we had great drummers that would come sit in. I mean, we had Dennis Chambers sat in with us. Simon Phillips would sit in, and then Cecilia was married to Tristan Bowden for a long time, about 10 years.
Right.
And all great drummers would come see Tris. They come to the band. We were there every Monday night. And Dave came in one of those nights and said, "Yeah, I want to play in your band." And Tris was going to tour in the summer with Chicago at the time. And so we had him come in, and he played most of the summer with us with Cecilia's band. I
Man.
mean, it was unbelievable. A lot of fun.
And that music, that band is really, really fun.
Oh yeah, it was a kick and a half, and it
It,
still is whenever we get together. But it's a big group. There's like 13, 14, 15 of us, but that's with a lot of horns. Sometimes we do it with less horns, but still, or singers. But yeah, it's like a party. It's a party you can hear. As you'll play later, you'll hear it in the song
yeah.
that she had done. And
This,
Jay Oliver was Dave Weckel's kind of cohort in his band. Jay Oliver, keyboard player, and they would co-write a lot of the songs for Dave Weckel's albums. Jay got together with Cecilia and co-wrote a few things with her and arranged some things with her.
did you do most of the horn arrangements on some of that stuff?
Yeah, later on, I did a lot of them. Yes. Early on, there were other people that did it before I joined the band that were good arrangers as well. And she came up with some ideas here and there as well. So, yeah. But when I joined the band, and I've been with her, I've known her for 27 years now.
Jeez.
So I've done a lot of the stuff in the last 20 or so. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah.
But when we first got off the Circus, and I moved to the Bay Area, and you stayed down here. What sort of gigs did you start doing?
Well, around that time, that's when I started getting into the Latin world, the salsa world, and it's a big part of my life since then. And it's a situation where I originally filled in for a friend of mine, a trombone player in college, and he was from the Bay Area actually. His name was Steve Tyler, and he says, "I can't make this rehearsal. Can you go rehearse with this Latin band?" And I'd never done a Latin band before. I knew jazz, I knew rock, I knew pop and funk, and I'd done bands like that. And we might have done some Santana, something close to that, but it wasn't really a true Latin salsa band with a lot of the Latin dance styles. So I said, "Yeah, I'll go down and play." And I'm playing in somebody's backyard and reading the charts, reading the arrangements. Some of them were clear, some of them were not so clear, but it was fun to get to at least to play. And the first thing they noticed, and a lot of people notice, and anybody that knows me, they go, "Wow, we can hear you. Yeah, we hear your part nice and strong." And you can add to that any way you want, but it's like, yeah, well, that's kind of the way I like to play, but that could
Yeah.
also lead to the strong but wrong. But we all make mistakes here and there, but there aren't too many of those, hopefully. But it was that strong kind of a style. And the other thing was I have a good sense of rhythm. um, I originally wanted to be a drummer. I don't know if you knew that either.
No.
Yeah, in elementary school, in fifth grade, they had a little they gave us practice pads and drumsticks out on the picnic table, the lunch tables outside. And so we had a little class with that. I go, "Well, that's kind of cool." I always liked the rhythm, liked listening to drummers. So by seventh grade, when I got into middle school, there was a summer school band, and I walked in the door and said, "Yeah, I want to be in the band. I played, I like drums. I'd like to be maybe in one of your drummers." They go, "Oh, we got too many drummers already. We got 6 drummers over here. We don't need any more drummers." But they're looking at me, and I'm like 11 years old, and they go, "Well, you got long arms. You want to play trombone?" "Well, we don't have any trombone players. You want to play trombone?" I said, "I just want to be in the band. Sure, I'll play trombone." That's how it all started. But I always had that sense of rhythm, and now the Latin rhythms are a little tricky, and the bass lines are a little tricky with the montuno patterns, and you would know this, and most musicians that know this have played it. And it's like it took a little adjustment to get used to that, but I could read, and I had a big sound where they could hear because they're not holding back. They're beating on cowbells, they're beating on cymbals, they're singing loud. They got 2 or 3 percussionists, so I was able to keep up with the volume of it, and they like the brass. Generally, there aren't too many saxophones in horn sections with salsa bands. It's more trumpets, trombones, more of a brass thing. Sometimes it's all trombones, which is kind of a fun thing too. So yeah, I filled in, and at that point it was like, "Hey, do you want to be in the band?" And I was filling in for somebody else. This was another friend of mine who did a lot of the Latin work. His name's Art Velasco. He's kind of key to Cecilia's band as well. Art sent me to sub for him now and then, and one leader says, Man, you play great. I want you to do the band. I don't want Art." And I go, "Well, Art was nice enough to let me fill in for him. I can't, that's the kind of thing you would do as a musician. You wouldn't say, 'Oh, I'm not going to take your gig.' I'm just filled in. Now, if Art wants to leave the band and he tells me and he says that's okay, then I'll do that." So that's kind of what I told that singer. But after a while, I got to the point where Art said, "Yeah, go ahead. You play in these bands, and I can't do it." And he was cool with it after a while. It wasn't really a big deal. But I would at least give them the benefit of the doubt. I said, "Well, hey, they know you, they haven't heard me, but on the other hand, yeah, sure, I want to work. Yeah, I want to play in these bands, but I want to be fair to the guys who are getting me a start and getting me a chance to play with them, because I didn't grow up with the music. I didn't know much about it at all, other than what I might have would have heard on the radio or on records or something." But around the early '80s, that's when it started happening. One band after another, I would either play in regularly or I would fill in with if I could on a different night or something like that. And you got to be part of the circle of brass players, circle of trombone players that were good enough to do a number of these bands or work with different singers or work with different bands. It really started then. That was that on top of what I was already doing, like doing casuals and weddings and parties with different bands that were more pop and more rock. I would always do that too. And I had jazz background, and I was playing in big bands and things. I was just out of college when I started the Circus. So it was really getting started in a number of different areas, but it really got into that Latin world. That's carried on to today because there just aren't a lot of people that either can or want to do that kind of thing, because it's a lot of volume for the most part, but some of these things are softer. But it's like, you have to be able to be strident enough to be heard over all the live percussion and all the live rhythm that's going on with it.
Well, salsa bands are really loud.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's not for somebody who is a meek player.
No, no. And I don't fault anybody for saying, no, I don't want to do that. That's okay. And I've asked some fairly big name players once in a while. I say, hey, this is a really good band. And I play in it. Why, just come on in. I'll do a lot of. All you have to do is just play your part. And some will say, okay, or some will say, no, thank you, that's okay. So yeah, playing in a loud situation, a live situation. But that would be true with rock bands. That would be true with some other people too.
Yeah.
It's a loud world out there, and I've lost some hearing, over the years. I used to play the cowbell like this, and the bell was going right into this ear.
Oh.
I used to do that all the time. Oh yeah, this year's had a lot less than this year, and I knew that was the case because around that time, a year or two after I left the circus, when you were on it, I would sleep on one side and I couldn't hear the birds chirping. I turned my head over this side, then I could hear it, and that was in that time. That was in the early '80s.
Whoa.
And then I couldn't really tell why, but then I realized, oh, you're supposed to play the cowbell out forward. That's what all these singers do. They play it forward. And I like to play percussion when I'm not playing horn lines, and I still have a whole collection of stuff. But yeah, I go, wow, that ring sounds really good, and it was just bashing away. So
do you still carry that big bag of percussion with you on the gigs?
I do if it works out where it's worth bringing. Now, with a lot of these salsa and Latin bands, you got 2 or 3 percussionists. Those guys all play different things already, so I don't necessarily do it in that style. But if it's a casual or a pop thing and I can pull something out, yeah, if I can bring it and it works and it adds to it, I try to be tasteful. I try not to be like some horn players just bang on things and go, wow, man, this is cool. So, but yeah, I've always been trying to be tasteful. I did it with a circus. You remember, I played triangle, I played tambourine, I played cowbell sometimes. Trying to add to it tastefully. Yeah, it's fun to play, and that's kind of my drummer instinct to come out and say, hey, I can play something rhythmic with you guys. I can hang with that. So yeah, I still have it. Mm-hmm.
The one thing that you could do really well is play the triangle. Playing a triangle is not easy.
No.
Especially if you're doing the 16th notes. When you're doing that 16th note open close thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you were really good at that.
Oh, thank you. That was something I heard originally on a Buddy Rich record. The Buddy Rich album Stick It, which was from 1972.
Yeah.
There's a couple of tunes on there where a triangle starts. And I think that's where I first got that inspiration, or first listened to that kind of the 16th pattern. And it was cool. It's a really cool sound.
So when you went to Cal State Northridge and you were playing big bands and jazz, mostly there, when you got started doing the salsa stuff, I mean, you've already sort of explained it, but stylistically, it's just so completely different. Do you prefer doing salsa now because of how you can express, or do you still just like doing the jazz stuff too?
Oh, it's both good. I mean, either idiom is it's great for the brass. It's great for things to do. I'll still play in big bands now and then. It's fun to play lead in a section. It's fun to do improvised solos. And in the salsa world, it's kind of like a different kind of a big band. Big bands will do Latin jazz. You'll hear things that have Brazilian influence, and then you hear things that are close to what salsa is. So it was really just merging the two, but knowing that they're 2 separate things, but yet from a brass player standpoint, you are being pretty forward and pretty strident. And big bands can be loud too, where you have to really kind of fill out the sound a little bit to be heard.
I can't help but mention this because we've been talking about drums and all that stuff. When we drove in the car and you hit and play along and use the sun visor as a cymbal.
Yes. That was fun, man. That was a lot of fun. That's not so good. That's not so easy to do when you're driving. But if you're the passenger, oh man, you're all over the dashboard and the side of the window and the door handle. Oh, it's the greatest. It's like I'd have the rolls. Yeah, that'd be like a cymbal crash,
Right?
Oh, it was fun and totally fun. Yeah.
So you've been doing all this. Should I play this Latin thing that we were talking about, where it can give sort of now this is a little bit of a softer tune though.
Yes.
That we're going to play. but we can hear a little bit of your soloing on that. And
Yeah, yes,
go
and the
ahead.
good thing about this is so people know that I do the up front and the wild, rollicking, frolicking, loud, crazy kind of stuff. But this is something where I came in kind of more sensitive after the singer's singing like a bolero. This is a bolero, like a ballad style. And it's a song, it's kind of an homage to his mother. So it's kind of a personal family kind of a thing in the lyric. It's all in Spanish. But the idea is to kind of play something tasty and pretty, which people don't always get to hear me do. And that's why we have this to listen to. So yeah, let's check it
Okay.
out.
All right, here we go. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop
Yeah.
it. I'm going to back it up further.
Yeah.
I
So people are going to hear
miscued
what
it.
it comes into. Yeah,
I
exactly.
miscued it. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not. I
Okay.
never said I was good.
Yeah. Well, you work on your DJ chops. You'll get there. It'll be fun.
Y hoy todos reunidos, hoy juntamos nuestras manos y entre familia y amigos, hoy las gracias te damos.
How about that?
Man, that was great until the strings came in.
Yeah, well, syrupy strings in the ballad, and that's the pop aspect of it. But you can hear it's a nice, pretty tune, and then all of a sudden you hear the trombone. That's one of the greatest gifts that I can do, especially in a recording sense. If people ask me, there's a lot of things over the years where, and they'll ask sax players and other instruments, but you don't hear the trombone as much do that. They'll say, yeah, let's put a trombone solo right in the middle there between verses, and just do what you want and come up with something. And that's where Tom had mentioned a couple weeks ago. He said he tries to get into a ballad, and he's usually not looking at the audience. This is a situation here. This singer, his name is Roosevelt. His wife Blanca comes all the time. He does salsa bands, and that's how we had met. Now this was his solo recording project. He says, "Yeah, I want you to play on this song." And so it was a thing where and I'm listening to the feeling of it. And I speak some Spanish, but I don't have a lot of that. But I could feel the emotion of the song. You can hear it when we played it here. And then it's like, okay, now I'm going to play something that just kind of comes from the heart. And it's one of the things that I always come back to with people and how I explain things. It's like, yeah, we're great musicians. We have the craft. We play at all these different styles. But it's a situation now I want to reach you. Now I want to communicate something there. I want to be able to say, this is going to not be just notes or technique, but it's going to be use that to say, I'm going to communicate this to you, and hopefully you'll feel that inside. Hopefully that's going to affect your heart. And it's a situation where, yeah, we did a couple of takes of that, but we got the best version of it. And the wife of that singer, Blanca, she would come up to me and go, that was absolutely beautiful. I'm practically crying listening to that. And that's what Tom said a couple of weeks ago. Remember, he said plays a ballad, and he saw some woman in the audience and reacted the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that happen in a big band too. There's a famous trombone solo in West Side Story, Buddy Rich's West Side Story. You might be familiar with that. That's a big, long 10, 12-minute suite, famous. And Maria in the middle is kind of a slow part where it's a trombone feature. Now, I've had a chance to play that live with a band a couple of times over the years. And there was a girl singer in that band, and she said practically the same thing. She goes, "You make me cry. You make me cry when you play that." And it's like, on the one hand, you want to say to her, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you cry." But on the other hand, you're saying, "Oh, you're getting it. It's emotional. You're hearing that. You're feeling that." And that can happen even to me when I'm listening to music of somebody else. It's like, if there's something that's that good, and it's just you react to it and you feel it inside, it brings out that emotion. That's one of the greatest things of music, where you can pull that out of people. And this kind of solo here was the same way. It was everybody that has come up to me since they heard this recording, they said, man, what a solo that was. Gee, you played amazing. Man, I want you to, and the singer, he's from Peru. And he said, I'm going to take you to Peru. You know, we're going to play it out. No, this never happened because I think it's a little too expensive. And this was before all the pandemic and everything else, but it was like going to be pretty hard to take me to Peru, but I'd do it if it worked out and we could play it live. It'd be amazing because this was only a recorded solo, but still they remember the feeling, they remember what they get from it. And especially non-musicians, even if it's people that don't know music, but they like it and they hear it and they feel what you're playing. That's a great gift, and it's a great reward to me and to anybody else that knows what this is like. That's fantastic.
It makes me think that once you get all the chops isn't really what it's about.
No.
What it's about is communicating the emotion, and you just explained that brilliantly. And I get that same way sometimes, and I'll listen to something that'll make me cry because of what the person is, but you can feel what they're expressing.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And how awesome is it that somebody will come up and say that you've made them feel a certain way?
Yeah. And especially if it's like somebody off the street and you play it outside somewhere and they just walk up and go, I didn't know what I was going to hear today, but I listened to you and it's like, you really touched me. I really was, you know, I was moved by what you played. I really felt what you were playing. And to me, that's the greatest gift. It's a great gift to hear it from great musicians, and they'll talk about all the craft or maybe something else, but it's like somebody that you don't even know gets what you're doing and you've reached them at that moment. That's fantastic. Absolutely.
Right. Well, speaking of great musicians, you've played with a lot of great guys, and here's somebody else, and we'll go through some of the other things that you have here. But you played with Smitty on a couple of gigs. The drummer that was on the Tonight Show for a while.
Right, Marvin Smitty Smith. Yes.
Yeah.
He was the drummer for Jay Leno's band, and Kevin Eubanks was the band leader. And I played in this all-star Latin salsa ensemble. Really, it's Jose Riso leads the band. Jose Riso is a DJ on KJazz 88.1 here in LA, and that's also online, and you can hear it. Even iHeartRadio has it as a station that you could look up on their app. But he put together, originally they put together a band as an anniversary gift to him. He started doing his Jazz on the Latin Side show, which is on Friday and Saturday nights on KJazz there, back in 1990. So in 2000, they put a band together called the Jazz on the Latin Side All-Stars. And they just did a live concert, and everybody had such a good time that they said, man, we ought to do this more often. Let's get this band together. Now, this is like 7 horns and 4 percussionists and maybe 2 or 3 singers. The band is like 15, 16 people. It's huge, but it's amazing when you hear it. And so you got all the percussionists, and the drummer, the set drummer, has been Marvin Smitty Smith most of the time. Marvin, they asked him to play it. He loved it. Alex Acuna also played with us and recorded. Well, he loved doing it as well. And Smitty's an amazing guy. He's a wonderful guy. That's where I got to meet him. I didn't really know him. I played on the Tonight Show in a group with Dwight Yoakam, the country singer. We played live, on one of the shows. But I knew Lee Thornburg, who played trumpet with the Tonight Show band with Jay Leno, and Smitty was a drummer. And so I knew a couple of other guys. I had met Matt Finders as well, who was a trombone player in that band. So they had 3 horns in that band. But yeah, Smitty is amazing. And he had already done jazz. He still does a lot of jazz things. He was always a great jazz drummer. But it was good to see him kind of use his jazz chops, and then he has to kind of mix in with the salsa Latin styles, and you're really doing it on a whole drum set.
Yeah.
And there's some of those drummers and percussionists that could do both. They'd have a drum set and they'd have timbales off to the side. And they would play timbales off to the left, and then, the hi-hat might have been around, wherever it was, with the opposite, maybe the same side of the hi-hat. It's off to one side of the drum set. And you hear him do that for a while. And Smitty even did that a couple of times. After he got into the band, after he started listening to it, after he saw what all these other guys were doing, he'd start using his chops. He even did that a little bit. Amazing. And there's the drummers with that Cuban band, Los Van Van, is a very popular salsa band from Cuba. Yeah, full drum set and timbales. So you're getting the best of all worlds there. You can do the jazz, and we've switched to swing, we've switched to Latin, we've switched to salsa, and to hear the band live. And we recorded 2 CDs. I'm on 2 of those CDs. The Last Bullfighter and Tom Bolero. I'm on that, and it was a gas. And to play live with them now, if we're lucky, we'll play once or twice a year. We didn't play last year. This year we're still waiting to come back and play somewhere. But yeah, I've been part of that band. They played the Playboy Jazz Festival at the Hollywood Bowl, and I got to do that.
You've played at the Playboy Jazz Festival a few times, right?
Yes,
With other
yeah,
with other bands too.
yes. That one was like the second time I'd played. That was in 2004. A little before that, I think it was 98. Al Jarreau was there, and he had done some things with horn sections in the 80s, and we were going to play on a couple of songs live with him with the horn section, really the same horn section from Cecilia Noel's band. Got to play with Al Jarreau. Freddie Ravel, the keyboard player, was playing with Al at the time, and we also played with Freddie with the horn section. So he said, hey, Al wants to use some live horns on this Hollywood Bowl concert, and he was going to close one of the nights, and the closing band is when the fireworks go off, and we played Roof Garden, which is a great tune, the funky tune from the 80s, and you hear the horns, and I think Jerry Hay did the horn arrangements on the record. And so we just played his arrangement basically and played live. And to work with Al Jarreau was such an amazing singer to begin with. And to play at the Hollywood Bowl with 18,000 people, what a thrill that was.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Who was playing drums?
I'm trying to remember. It could have been, I can't remember who played the drums. It might have been Bernie Dressel. That's possible.
Yeah.
I'm not, it could have been Joey Heredia. It could have been somebody like that.
Well, anybody that he had. I'm just curious because at one point somebody said, back then, if there was anybody you could play drums for, who would it be? And Al Jarreau,
Yeah.
Because,
Oh yeah, and Al was, he was into funky stuff, pop stuff, jazz stuff. It's the same with Cecilia Noel. It's the same with a lot of these Latin groups. It's like drummers just go, sure, I want to play that. It's just amazing in the variety of styles and the rhythmic aspect of the music, etc.
Right.
Yeah.
So also, you did some stuff with Natalie Cole and Doc Severinsen, and this is the one that surprised me is the Don Henley thing.
Yeah.
And you toured with Don Henley, and the 4 trombone. I got tell that story about the 4 trombones, because that just doesn't.
Yeah, this is really different, and I think it was a situation where maybe Don was like, he may have played trombone in high school. I'm not real sure about that, but it's possible he had some affinity with the trombone. Now he certainly never played it with the Eagles. He never played it, professionally. I doubt it, but the idea with this was it was his solo tour in 2000 called the Inside Job Tour. And the album that came out at that time was Inside Job. And so we had a larger horn section. We had 2 trumpets, 2 trombones, and 3 saxes. And we played on Sunset Grill, which was an old Eagles tune. We played on The Long Run at the end of the show. It's like Sunset Grill was the second song of the set, and then Long Run was the 16th song of the set, and then Hotel California is where we used the trombones. That was like the 15th. So they were the last 2 songs. So we came out in the first 10 minutes, and then we had like an hour and a half break, and then came and played the last 2 songs of the show live on tour. But Hotel California, he said, no, I want you guys to be, I want the 2 trombone players, my guitar tech over here, he's going to play trombone, and one of the keyboard players, he's also going to play trombone. So there's going to be 4 of you guys, and you're going to play the solo, Joe Walsh's famous guitar solo in Hotel California, arranged for 4 trombones. And that's what we did live. It was amazing. Wow. And he had these outfits. We're wearing these all black outfits. We had these little African hats on. We had sunglasses, and it was the weirdest looking thing. We looked like, at the time, and this would not have worked better later, but it was the year 2000. Yeah, it was right before we're talking 11 years before 9/11. No. 1 year before 9/11. That's right. Yeah. 2000. Yeah. When I said, "Oh, we look like Bin Laden terrorists." At the time, it was a joke. It's no joke now, of course. But that's the kind of look we had. And we're playing Joe Walsh's licks, and we're playing trombone. We're all lined up in front of the stage, and Don's over there, and he's looking at us, going, "Yeah." Yeah, and he even said to the crowd, "Yeah, 4 trombones, it's a cool sound, you like that, people?" It was like, once again, an audience that probably wouldn't have seen that many trombones ever in their life, but they knew the music, and we're playing that solo, and it's like, that was a whole lot of fun to do that. And we did like maybe 20 shows over a couple of months of one summer there in 2000.
That
fantastic.
I'm trying to imagine what it would sound like, and with 4 trombones playing that solo, because the solo it's an iconic guitar solo.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
we were doing a lot of the licks, and they had wrote them out for us. One of the other keyboard players says, "Yeah, here's the part. It'd be good if you guys could memorize this." We did. We had to memorize it. We had to go up front and just play it. It wasn't that hard. We did it. We got into it,
Yeah.
and it was fun and a half. So, who knows? Online, maybe somebody took some live video of it back in 2000. You never know. I've always wanted to kind of look and see if it was there. We were kind of mostly the West Coast dates of that tour. He had different horn players on the East Coast do it, same solo, same music. Maybe in the Midwest, Texas, there were like 2 or 3 different horn sections, and we were the West Coast horn section. So it may be on there. You never know. People put up a lot of stuff. There's a solo I did in 1998 with a Stan Kenton tribute band, and it's on there. And it's actually one of the better ones.
Really?
I never knew it was there till I searched myself, and that's always fun to do to begin with. But you find this stuff that, and with somebody in the audience took video of me playing it, and there I am in 1998. It's pretty wild.
That's cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so you also played you're doing all of the salsa stuff, all those, and then you started playing with the Raiders band while they were here.
Yes.
That was steady for a while doing that, back when they were good.
Yeah, that's right. In the 84 Super Bowl, they actually won the Super Bowl, but they were the Los Angeles Raiders. That was their first move from Oakland.
Yeah.
And they came down here in 82, and I joined the band in 1986. So this is a live big band for the most part, and we had a couple of extra instruments. We had like a fiddle player, and we had might have had 1 or 2 vocalists, but it was basically a jazz big band. We didn't play a lot of jazz. We played mostly rock and pop and stuff like that on the field down in the corner of the stadium, the LA Coliseum, right by the tunnel where the players came in, where all the Raiderettes came in. There were 48 Raiderettes, Jeff. It was a very
see, that's
an
what
amazing time.
That's what I wanted to hear. And by the way, I want to hear about the Raiderettes. I don't care about the music.
Yeah, you don't care about them, of course. I was kind of.
But there's somebody called in while you were telling the story, but I let him not talk, but somebody wants to say something.
Okay.
Hello, am I on with Eric Jorgensen?
It sure sounds like you are.
Andy, my name's Andy, and I'm a trombone player from Vancouver.
No, I don't think so. It doesn't sound like the Andy I know.
Everybody says I'm hosing. Do you have any advice?
Everybody says he's hosing.
He's hosing. That's a Canadian thing. What would I know about that? I don't know. He sounds like a sax player. I don't know if that guy's a trombone player. What do you think?
So I wanted to know who's the loudest saxophone player you know.
Oh, that has to be Tommy Politzer, hands down. There's no question about it. My God, he's loud.
Oh. Yeah.
Tom, good to hear you, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's great listening to you, and man, it's great hearing all those things you've been doing, because we could kind of going in different circles, you and I, for so many years. And also you should know, Worley's on here, and Jim Pollock. I've reconnected with Jim Pollock, and he's been watching this thing, and Dan Martin said hi. And so kind of cool. Some blasts from the past.
Man, that's great.
So I just wanted to, I didn't want to take up too much. This interview is going great, and I just wanted to say a quick hi.
Well,
what was
Tom and John. Question. Okay, hold on though. I want to interrupt because Tom and John have been talking about Tommy's Burgers.
Oh yeah. It's the basis of everything, Jeff. If you really think about it. These guys know. I went on Larry King's radio show. Now that's when he did a radio show, late night show back in the 80s. And he came to LA. He was based in Washington, D.C. at the time. He came to LA and he had open mic. Anybody in the room want to say something? And I got on the mic with him. This kind of described it fully. And he goes, yeah, you got something to say? I go, hey, Larry, in LA, since you've been in LA, have you been to Tommy's yet? And he goes, Tommy's, what's that? I go, oh man, Tommy's, it's like this hot chili burger. You get it in your hand, you put it in your mouth, and it's the most amazing thing you've ever tasted. And then Larry King says, Look at this guy getting all excited about a hamburger. But it was a thing we did in college. You know, I was at Cal State Northridge, and there was a Tommy's in the valley. They go, "Hey man, let's go on a Tommy's run." And I really never knew what it was like, and I went with friends, and that's what Tom and John did later on too. It's like, come on, it's a late night, all 24-hour greasy spoon chili burger place, and it's fantastic. It's an LA legendary landmark, and there's a whole bunch of them around here. And yeah.
Yep.
So Tom, what was your other question?
I forgot now because I was just thinking about wanting a Tommy's burger.
Making us hungry, isn't it? We're gonna run right now.
The last time Eric and I hung, how long ago was that? Was that like even 2 years ago? We, of course, went to Tommy's.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. You were down here, and we went there after your gig. I remember we met up, and 1 or 2 in the morning, there we go. We're just sitting down having a couple, and it's fantastic.
We went to the one in Hollywood, though. Didn't we go to the one in Hollywood?
We've been to Hollywood. We've been in ones in the Valley. Yeah, we've been to a few of them.
Yeah. Hey, man, well, I just wanted to say hi, man. I hope we get to cross paths here when all this crazy nonsense ends and we get to play gigs again. So.
Absolutely. Sooner or later, it'll happen. And I think, I've been saying this to some people here and there. When we can bring the music back, it's going to be even more special because they haven't had it in months, and to go through all this, people just hearing music in somebody's front yards or wherever they hear it, they're getting all excited about that. Wait till they see these full bands coming back, the groups that we play with.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun for us. It's gonna be a lot of fun for them. Yeah.
Hey, before I go, can I see your socks?
If I was wearing socks, I would show you. I have a red shirt. That's about as far as I can go. I could show you the red sock on the trombone stand. You want to look at that? Yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, sure.
There it is.
There it is. The red sock. Yeah, it's on the stand. Wow.
Just for those watching, Eric's nickname is Eric the Red, and he always wears red socks. It doesn't matter what the gig is, he wears red socks.
Yeah, as much as possible.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up. I'm gonna hang up, and I'm gonna challenge Worley to call in. Worley.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Tom. Thanks a lot. Nice to hear you, man.
I'll be in touch, man. I love you. All right, bye.
Okay, love you too, Tom. All right.
So this is what I was thinking. The one good thing about the pandemic is the fact that we're all communicating because we have time to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice gift, really. It's really cool.
It is.
Really cool.
I mean, when would we have had time for you and I and Tom to call in and John and all of us sort of sitting around doing something like that? Alan, guess who's calling?
Wow. Is that our man, John Worley? Is it the best man?
Hey, John.
Yeah.
You got to turn your
turn your radio down like they do on the talk shows.
You got to turn your computer off.
Turn it off.
What sound?
Yeah. There he is. That's the best man. That's the best man.
That's right. I'm the best man, bro.
Yeah. For those who don't know, he was the best man at our wedding. And Jeff Noose was part of the wedding party too. You were there.
I was. Yeah.
That was good fun, man. That was a great party.
Yeah.
Oh, we had a lot of fun.
Great party.
How long ago was that?
That was 32 years ago now, 1988.
Holy crap.
Where did the time go?
Man.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
That's cool, Eric. How's Audrey?
Audrey's doing great. Audrey's doing real well. She's going to be Jeff's going to have her on soon as well. I heard we got to start on her show, and we're going to work on it some more, right?
Yeah. We're going to do. Audrey does a thing with horses and working with people in animal behavior, whatever. Where it helps. It's animal therapy, I think, is what it's called. And,
or animal communication. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to. I'm going to go out to the ranch, and we're going to film a little thing and put it online.
She had good training with Eric.
Yeah. Maybe that's. I can't take any credit for that, man. She's always loved animals. She's loved horses, and she hadn't really been with horses since high school and college. So this is kind of bringing it all back to her. And she retired from teaching a couple of years ago, and so she's got
Wow.
more time to work on it. And she loves it. And this little ranch is like 4 miles from our house. And
Perfect.
yeah, so she'll have a whole show with Jeffrey pretty soon. You'll be able to check that out. But
Hey,
it's
how's
amazing.
Paul?
Absolutely. Kyle's doing good. He's 29 years old. He was just here for Father's Day. He lives in the Bay Area. He lives in Oakland, John.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he does. He's a computer engineer for a company called Workday in Pleasanton in the East Bay. And
Oh,
he's got an apartment overlooking Lake Merritt in downtown Oakland. It's a beautiful spot. And
nice.
he's doing really well. He's
Nice.
doing really well. Yeah. Yeah. He's
Hey,
doing great.
remember
We're
when
really
we
proud of
played,
him.
I think you were on the gig. We played for Cliff Vargas's circus party in Bel Air.
Yeah, at his house or something like that.
Yeah, remember that?
Oh yeah, how could we forget Cliffy's parties?
That was crazy, huh? Wasn't that crazy?
Yeah, Cliffy's show, as you used to call it. Yeah, you played Cliffy's
Oh,
show. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. That was when we were in Hollywood. We'd play the show in Hollywood in the Hollywood Bowl parking lot, and then we all went up the hill to his house, and it was nuts. Oh,
it was crazy.
Man.
Hey, man, the last time I saw you, I think it was with you were playing with Cecilia Noel, and it was up at Vito's club. Remember
yeah,
that?
that was in Berkeley, wasn't it?
Yep.
You saw it was like the old Mr. E's club, Pete Escobedo's
Yep,
club.
that's right.
Yeah, we played live there.
That was a great gig, boy.
Oh,
That was
man,
great.
fantastic, the horn section and everything else. Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, man, I
Yeah,
hope I
man.
get a chance to see you sometime. We can hang out, you know. And I'll tell Farron that I talked to you on the online here. You know, she'll get a kick out of that.
Oh sure, and she can see it later when he uploads it. It'll be on YouTube, so that'll be
Yeah,
great.
it'll be on YouTube, and it'll stay on my Facebook page as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look,
Yeah.
I won't take up any more of your time. I just wanted to call in and say hi and rise to Pulitzer's challenge there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you did, man. You exceeded him as usual. You're way better than Tom, so no problem at all.
Yeah. Woo, woo. Oh,
Nah, both of you guys are great. I watched your 2.5-hour show the other night. I couldn't believe it. I go, look at these guys. They're going on and on and on. No, you guys were great. It was fun to see you. It's fun to hear you. It's been a long
That was a
time.
good time, man. I really dug that. You know.
Yeah, that was really good.
Fellas, I'll let you go. Thank
All
you
right.
so much, and I'll talk to you soon. All
All
right.
right. Thanks for calling
Okay.
in. John.
Thanks,
Bye,
John.
guys.
Love you,
Bye
bro.
bye. Bye.
Oh man. So anyway, how cool is that we could all hang out? And I put the picture of the four of us up in place of my mug, so people
Oh,
can.
good.
Tom is in the middle. John is to Tom's left. You're to Tom's right, and I'm the funny looking guy up behind everybody with a beard.
Yeah, that beard looked great, by the way. You looked really good back then,
What?
as opposed to now. No, just kidding.
That sounds like something my kids would say. Yeah. You looked great back then, Dad. What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
And you and Audrey, by the way, and Kyle, what a great couple the two of you are. And Audrey was so nice and patient in trying to get this, and she knows so much about horses and their behavior and how to take care of them. And because of the ranch's location, it's hard to get signal. So we got to figure out a way where we can record it and get the horses involved so everybody can get that experience of what she's doing there.
Yeah.
And
And you say you're going to go up there? You're going to do it?
yeah. I'm going to drive up there next week, and I'm going to try to just film something and then make a little video that I can just post rather than do a live interview, because that gives me more control to be able to get it to look good and and sound good without having the disconnecting all the time.
Right. Yeah. We were wondering whether it would reconnect or not. And it's the same with phone service there. It's just kind of weird. But yeah, you go up there and shoot some footage and get the look you want. It's going to be one of your better shows, if I do say so. This is going to be something different. I mean, you haven't done anything like this. So
No, exactly. And I really want to do some things like that just to offer something different than just a bunch of musicians talking all the time. That's got to get boring.
That gets really old. That gets so old. I can't believe it.
So here's the other couple of things. Hey, let me play this clip that you had me download.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure. Yeah, I'm going to play this. Now we aren't going to be able to hear it, but the folks will be able to hear it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make this go live, and we're going to play it right now.
When you made that California trip, get your kicks on the river. All right, let's hear it.
Karaoke, you got it, man.
All right, Eric, that was
How about that?
I know you couldn't see it, but I was trying to tell you where we were at in the solo.
Oh, you had it perfectly. It's like watching a mirror image. It's like, excellent. You get it. You finally get me. That's great.
My favorite part, there's like a 8-second delay on the video on the feed. But anyway, my favorite part is when you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
People love that, especially on those gigs, man. They just love that.
Yeah, it's like I save up for that. That was like we were playing for over an hour, and that might have been the second set, and it was like, are they gonna give me a solo yet? And usually in my mind, I go, okay, now it's coming. All right, here it comes. Boy, I've been saving up for this. Wait till you hear this, and that's pretty much the reaction everybody gets when I start doing it. Whoa, what the heck is that? And they're all running to take video. You can see them there. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is funny, man. I've been able to see you play. I've done some sound for some gigs where you're soloing, and it's always the same reaction. People are like, "Oh my God, what?" There is an energy that radiates outward from you that just makes it magical, and it always happens every time you take a solo.
Well, thanks, Jeff. It's something I look forward to doing, and like I say, this is kind of what people know me for, and it's so much fun. And it's like a lot of players will just sit there, and they'll just kind of go through the motions. Like, I'm not going through the motions. I'm going to put something right out there. Here it comes. It's like, I'm feeling this. Here, you're going to get it. And of course, there's fun involved. You can hear the wackiness. You can hear the silliness. And you know where a lot of that came from? The Circus. When we were in the Circus band with John and Tom, people haven't made the connection already, we were all four in the band. And it was like, they said, we're going to do these trombone rags for the clown music, and it's like Lasse's trombone, just wacky old 1920s ragtime music.
Do you have a trombone? Do you have a trombone, City?
Yeah.
Give us an example of what that would be.
Yeah, it's like you'd play the music for a while. Now I'm sitting here in my house, and hopefully the neighbors won't get too wild up. It'll be kind of good for them to hear it anyway. But you're playing it straight for a while. You're playing the melody, and then you start taking it out. And well, that's what I did. I started to do things. That's kind of what we did collectively in the band. We would just start going different directions. We would start quoting different things. Sometimes we quoted TV themes. Sometimes we quoted pop songs or jazz melodies or whatever. And we just kept getting wackier. And so this is kind of an idea of what that started like. I'd play the melody first, then kind of fool around with it. Kind of like that.
That was, it was so
I'll
loud.
wake them up.
Yeah, right. But it was so loud. The microphone on your iPad was like getting pegged.
Yeah, I think that's part of the beauty of it. Yeah, come on, it's your job to get me, man. I'm an artist. It's gonna have whatever you have to do. No, I can understand. I could have played it softer, but you didn't really have the the spirit of it.
No, you got to go for it all the way.
And we're back. As they say in TV, and we're back.
Well, we need somebody like with a cue card going like,
yeah, right. Count us down. And 5, 4, 3. Right.
So, as we wrap up the show, the one thing that we haven't talked about yet is the thing you did with the Grammy Awards and what you were doing with that, because all of the best guys in town were on that call. Vinnie Caliuta and Lee Sklar, Harry Kim and George Shelby, you. And who were the other guys in the band?
Well, the band leader is Cheche Alara. He's a keyboard player, arranger, and producer in town, and he's originally from Argentina. He helped put the whole thing together, and he really just called a lot of his best friends, the best guys he could get. He figured best guys, gals, whoever I can get. And he'd worked with a lot of us already, and we'd done other things before. In fact, with him, we also did the Latin Grammys in Las Vegas, which they usually do in November. And we did that 5 different years with him. And that was actually for the night before they do their live show. So I know we hadn't talked about this before, but they have a Person of the Year. The regular Grammys has a Person of the Year award as well. They give to somebody every year. So we were a live band on stage the night before the TV show of the Latin Grammys, which would be on one of the Spanish networks. Univision shows the Latin Grammys every year. So we'd be a live band on stage, and they would pick somebody out as a tribute artist. And they would bring in all these different acts to sing their songs or perform their songs, this and that. And that was a lot of fun. And Cheche put that together. That's what our original Grammy connection was. Then he had a chance to say, oh, they needed somebody for the afternoon show, which is what we played, the Grammy premiere ceremony, where they hand out pretty much 70 of the other Grammys that they don't have time for on the evening show, which is usually a lot of the categories that you don't see much on the regular show. And we put together an all-star band on stage. So he called the people he knew. We were happy to be part of it. There were other people there as well, great guitar players, Tim Pierce, Dean Parks. Both of those guys are great studio players. And we had a string section. We had vocalists. Luis Conte played percussion. So all these guys are just amazing. We all had a ball doing it. And basically, we're a live band on stage doing play-ons and playoffs for all the other Grammy Awards. And it's like kind of the way music shows used to be in the past. You'd see the Jerry Lewis telethon. There was always a band on stage that would play on the acts and this and that. And and you'd think the Grammys is a music show, for God's sake. So here's a amazing live music band, and they really appreciate it. They really liked it. We've done it 3 years now. And it's like, they go, this is fantastic. In fact, one year they went back to New York. 2018 was the 60th anniversary. So that was the one year we didn't do it. Who did they have? They brought Paul Schaefer's Letterman band on. Got to be the New York band. And those guys are great, but I think we were better. And we've done it 3 years in LA, and they like us, and it's a real kick to be able to play it. Yeah. And so we had a great time.
The New York guys are okay, but yeah.
They're not like us, man. Well, we're better. They have to live on top of each other, and they have attitudes, and it's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, if you guys come here, it's a lot easier to live. It's a lot better weather. It's just, it's what you should have.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're more laid back. We got it
Yeah,
dialed in.
yeah,
And the difference, I think, when you do the thing in the afternoon, you get to be with all of your real contemporary music peers, or they're more of the like the jazz guys and country,
yeah.
uh,
hmm
uh,
Classical,
classical.
gospel, bluegrass, all the other categories are pretty much given out then.
Yeah,
And then a lot of the engineering awards. They'll have engineering awards for the engineers and the mixes for all the genres, even hip hop, even pop. Some of those awards are given out in the afternoon too. Yeah,
and, and the night is pretty much saved for. It's just a show for the people, for the rest of
yeah,
the country. It's not the awards, and all of the people that come up and play, that you do the awards and the play-ons for.
yeah, exactly. They give out all the awards, and sometimes the awards, sometimes the people are there, sometimes they're not, but it's kind of a surprise. Like for the Jazz Awards, we saw Wayne Shorter come up and accept his award last year. And Wayne was not walking so well. He was walking with a cane, but he came up and gave a really nice speech. And there were other names you might recognize. Gloria Gaynor from the 70s. She came up. She won a gospel award this year. Elvis Costello, I hadn't seen in a number of years. He came up and accepted his Grammy. So that's kind of cool. And they also have live performances. And one of the live performances this year was Chick Corea. And Chick had his Spanish Heart Band. So they played live, and then Chick was nominated for one or two awards. He won one Grammy. And before the show started, he's standing off stage, and I went right up and met him for the very first time. Chick Corea is like 78, 79 years old now. And it was like, wow, Chick, you've been a great influence on me. It's a real pleasure to meet you. Where else would I see him other than a situation like that, unless I got to play with him, which would be great too. But there he was standing right there. Audrey's with me, and we both got to meet him, and that was fantastic. A living legend.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I got a chance to meet Herbie Hancock one time, and I just said, "Look, I know it was at a party. I was doing sound for this party. Hey, I know this may not be appropriate, but I mean, you're Herbie Hancock. I'm like, how could I not want to meet you?" And he was really nice. Is that what Chick was like? He was really gracious.
Very nice, exactly. And he was really cool. He goes, "Oh, you play trombone? Oh, that's cool." I knew his bass player, Carlitos Del Puerto, who was originally from Cuba. Carlitos played with Cecilia for a while, Cecilia Noel. So, but I didn't notice that till later. But anyway, it was like, yeah, he said, "Oh, you're another musician? That's great. It was great to know you. Oh, you're playing in the backup band here? That's fantastic." So he really liked that. I thought that was cool. And I saw Chick and Herbie live. They did a dual piano concert tour in the early 80s, right after the Circus, probably 82, 83. And I saw them at Dorothy Chandler Pavilion at the Music Center here in LA, where the LA Phil used to play for years, concert hall. And they're both playing 9-foot grands. Chick's on one side, Herbie's on the other. And they did a double album, which I had, and my mom got tickets for that. And she and I went to see that. And to see those guys play was a once in a lifetime thing. It was fantastic.
Have they ever done anything else together? I don't know. I don't think so.
Not too often. Maybe once in a while, maybe for something special. But that was a set tour because the idea was two pianos, the two of us are playing. And later on, Elton John and Billy Joel did that. I think in the 2000s, somewhere around in there. So same kind of thing.
That's cool, but not the same as Chick and Herbie.
No. Exactly. Not to us anyway.
Right? Whole different vibe.
Yeah. And they'd get wacky. They'd play solos. They'd be plucking the piano wire inside. They would be tapping the side of the piano. They were having a ball. They were having all kinds of fun with each other. So
man, that would be fun. Yeah. All right. So the last thing before we go to put a button on this thing was I want to revisit, and this is really funny, the thing about the trombone solo on Monkey.
Yes.
And if anybody's ever seen Cecilia Noel live, this is a real treat. And You know, it's not X-rated, but you know, it's a little risque. You explain how that happens. What goes on with that trombone solo?
Yeah. What goes on with that? Well, I call it the interactive trombone solo. And what happens is I go out front in the middle of the song to take a solo, and I'm playing along, and all of a sudden Cecilia starts adding choreography to the solo. And she's kind of moving around, and she goes over to the side of me, and she's looking at me, and she's pointing, and she's looking back at the girls, backup singers, the girl singers, and she's kind of just getting closer and closer to me, starting to touch my arm or my leg or something like this. And that's all in good fun. The whole point is I have to keep playing. She's not really doing anything wacky other than just getting closer to me. But then she gets down and crouches down and leans back, and she sticks her tongue out, and she's ready to lick the trombone slide. So you see the trombone here. Let me move this over a little bit. Yeah. So I'm playing along, and this part of the horn, right about in here, you know, I'm moving along playing the solo, and she sticks her tongue, and the idea is I'm supposed to put the slide on her tongue. She says, I want to lick the trombone slide while you're soloing. So the slide's like a big tube here, and she's licking the slide while I play. I have to be coherent and play, you know, a good solo all the way through this. And the problem was we never got to rehearse that. You know, we always had to do it live. She had all the fun. I had to keep playing and sound like I know what I'm doing with all this distraction going on. So she sticks her tongue out, she's licking the slide, and then it gets to the point where she's like so climactic, and I'm playing higher notes, and I'm going wilder and wilder, and then she literally just falls back on the floor, and the girl singers come up to help her out, and they're fanning her, they're cooling her off. She's shaking her head. She's like, you know, delirious from the whole experience of the interactive trombone solo, licking the slide while I'm improvising. It's fantastic. They don't teach you that in school, Jeff. We never learned that in college.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So when you grow up to be a trombone player, you will get to do this with the female singer.
I have some students, but you know, I don't think they'll ever get to that point. It could happen, you know, maybe. You really can't teach that, you know. They say that to athletes. Oh, you can't teach that. You just got to be born with it. Well, that could be the possibility too. I don't know. She's certainly born with it. That never came up to me. I didn't suggest it, but okay, you want to do that? Sure. Let's add that to the show.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, yeah. Man. All right. So, anything else you want to throw in before we sign off?
Well, it's been a great experience here, Jeff. You got a wonderful show, and I have seen some of the other ones, and I'm really happy and honored to be part of this. It's a fantastic thing. I'm glad you're able to spend some time with me, and I'm glad to share a lot of these experiences with everybody watching. And yeah, it's been a wonderful thing.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, and I'm going to close up the show.
Okay. As I recall, we had talked about this in the pre-show notes. Did you want to play something of Cecilia's on the way out? Remember that song Mambo that we talked about? Okay.
Yeah.
So we edit all this out anyway. It'll be great.
Yeah. I'm going to edit out everything but just that song. Like, hey, here's a great interview with Eric.
Yeah.
Then
the song, and that's it. Yeah, perfect. Won't waste a lot of people's time. It'll be fantastic.